Top performing software and services teams are shifting away from fragmented tactics towards scalable, owned infrastructure. This is more than a webinar. It's a strategic reset to help you build a marketing engine that compounds over time. We'll show how CRM, content, SEO, and email, when aligned, don't just generate leads, they create momentum. Now introducing one of your speakers, Kurt Martin.
Hi, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Kurt Martin, the CEO of PMG 360. We focus on building systems, help our customers reduce acquisition cost and boost scale. So we've been doing that for over 18 years. And today we're going to talk about a bunch of different topics that we think can help you scale as well. I have Patrick O'Leary with me. I'll let him do a quick intro.
Hello, everyone. Patrick O'Leary. I am the Vice President of Customer Success here. My role is working directly with clients to optimize life cycles, go-to-market strategies. Together, we've helped dozens of clients shift from channel-dependent growth to predictable pipeline powered by internal systems. Thank you all again for attending. I'll turn it over to Kurt, and let's get started.
Yeah, so Pat, we're going to start with a poll today. So this poll is, which part of your go-to-market currently feels the least predictable, right? We have A, CRM and sales process, B, top of the funnel lead generation, C, email and nurture flows, D, content and SEO, and E, others. So, use this as an attendee. You want to use this poll to pinpoint your greatest go-to-market friction. This is your internal compass or GPS for like the session ahead.
I mean, it'll show how unpredictability stems from disjointed infrastructure, not just execution. So I'm interested to see where our attendees will take this poll. Do you have any insight yourself, Kurt?
What do I think? I think that it's CRM.
What? Listen, I think you have some interesting points to make.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's CRM and sales process, which it's 100% of the answers we got today. So let's move to the next slide. We're on the same page.
Okay.
So the agenda for today's webinar is we're going to go over the 2024 Q1 benchmark report. We cover customer acquisition cost, funnel drop-off, and conversion insights. We're going to talk about the new growth equation, which is infrastructure is better than tactics. And then we're going to go through a quick action plan on how to align your go-to-market with durable data-backed growth channels. This is really a how-to webinar and series, so I think that you will all benefit from it. I think that's it. So we can move on to the next slide. We're going to be looking at the benchmark reality. And so what we found in our benchmark reality study was customer acquisition costs were up 22%. That wasn't because leads are hard to find, right? You can find leads, but it's because like the teams are still renting attention. And what I mean by renting attention, that means you're buying a small amount of somebody's attention when you're using rented channels like pay-per-click and things like that. You need to own that, right? The paid channel ROI is flattening. Basically, you're just getting a lower return on investment for these paid channels, pay-per-click and LinkedIn. We still see sales and marketing teams operating in like separate silos. Even if they have a CRM in place, often there's different, so in HubSpot, there's different hubs, sales hub, marketing hub, right? So what that's doing is that's also killing funnel velocity, right? So the other thing, 27% of RevOps leaders say CRM supports both marketing and sales, and then 42% of marketers say newsletters now drive best ROI. Pat, what do you, so uh, newsletters and own content to me are definitely, they definitely outperform, and they have a longer life value than rented channels. Like what have you seen on your end?
Yeah, I mean, paid channels are no longer the cheat code. Costs are rising, returns are flattening. You know,
Yeah.
uh, and then and this is something that we can speak to personally. Like owned media, like newsletters and CRM, they're emerging as the top return on investment drivers. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
no
where
doubt. No doubt. Well, and what I was going to say is like, so we have long been invested in the own channels, right? Like we've tested rented channels, and the return has been really low. That said, if you have a strategy that uses these owned channels, you're gonna lower your customer acquisition cost and increase your customer lifetime value. Let's move on to the next slide, which is focusing on infrastructure is better than tactics, right? So the three key components here are CRM, email, and SEO and content, right? So every time, like every engagement we have, own channels beat rented channels. Um, what I see often is like customers don't see their CRM as their command center. They just think of it as more of like a database, which is
right.
first of all, you're wasting money if you're not utilizing the platforms. The second is you really need to leverage that CRM to be a single source of truth for your customers, right? So the next part is the email side. So email equals engagement engine. PMG 360 was founded as an email partner from since 2006, right? So it's in our DNA, it's in our core competency. Email is not dead. Social is struggling right now because everybody's inboxes are being inundated with AI messaging. So really leaning on your email, it's a powerful tool for retention, for reactivation, and mid-funnel velocity, right? So basically keeping your mid. So often what happens is the top of the funnel and bottom of the funnel actively engage. If you're giving up on that mid-funnel, you're going to have a lot of leak in your pipeline, right? And then the last part is content and SEO aren't just for awareness. Um, I think, and it's really important that you have your SEO audit done, like, and your technicals really sorted out before you start focusing on your content. That's kind of flipped here a little bit, but SEO will really define what kind of content you can create and at which channels, and I'm sorry, for which channels and at which stages. And by doing that well, it's going to lower your customer acquisition cost over time and increase your customer lifetime value.
And
Um,
Kurt, when you're talking about SEO, let's talk about some of the changes that are taking place between human written content and now AI generated content. You know, the
so there
veil is
was just,
the veil has been lifted on AI generated content.
and there was just in June, Google did a core algorithm update, which will negatively affect AI generated content. So if you're doing is AI generated content, Google's going to start dinging you in search engine results. Not only search engine results, but generative search engine results, because that's a new thing, right? So that's a good point, Pat.
Yeah. I mean, think of CRM, email, and SEO as owned assets, owned growth assets. They're not a cost center.
Yeah,
Predictability comes from systems, not sprints. Yeah, I mean, this is how internal go-to-market teams gain strategy, speed, and scale. You know, uh, I think that, far too often it just, kind of like going back to what we said, it gets overlooked. And then, that first slide is still bringing in my head 22% increase cost for customer acquisition. People are like, where are the costs coming from? And the answers, or some of the solutions, some of the answers are right under their nose. And this
Yeah,
is what we're hoping to kind of draw out for everybody.
yeah, it's often that people aren't effectively utilizing their own channels, and it's easy to lean on rented channels. Don't I mean they're designed to tell you that they're performing rented channels. That's their reporting and everything about them is designed to make you think that they're working. But when you start looking at cost per lead and cost per conversion and customer acquisition costs, you'll see that the costs are way high, which is flattening the return and lowering your customer lifetime value. So leaning on these own channels and having a strategy, infrastructure is better than tactics. Tactics are rented channels. All right, we can move on to the next slide. So the new growth equation, right? We're looking at CRM and SEO plus lifecycle email. This is a like a formula for funnel efficiency. What this allows you to do, allows you to align your messaging across your entire buyer journey, right? It's vital in your CRM and your email and your whole strategy that you're aligning your messaging based on the stages of your sales stages or sales funnel. So depending where they are, like HubSpot has deal stages. They're all same. Zoho, Pipedrive, you're going to have different deal stages. You want to align messaging and workflows for each of those deal stages so that you don't leak leads. That's going to improve the efficiency of your pipeline. It's going to increase the velocity of your close rate and enable you to lower your customer acquisition costs, right? So by doing all of that alignment, you get fewer wasted leads. It's pretty straightforward. You'll have a stronger marketing qualified lead to sales qualified lead conversion. And at the end of the day, as being a management, forecasting is so important to me. So having cleaner forecasting, have a better idea of what's going to actually come in is going to be a result of this as well, right? So, if you're basically using this equation, CRM, SEO, life cycle email, that becomes an engine for you to, improve your top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel precision and outcomes. Okay. So again, aligning your top of the funnel and bottom of the funnel messaging, reducing your customer acquisition costs, increasing the lifetime value. So all of these things, by reducing the customer acquisition cost, you're increasing your customer's lifetime value, right? If it's cheaper to get them, they're worth more long term, right? Plus, your messaging is going to make you more relevant and engaged with them over a longer period of time, longer lifetime value. And the improved forecasting for me, like for me personally, as a business owner and as a manager, improving the forecasting is a really huge benefit of this whole process. So, what you measure, you can manage, right? What can be measured can be managed, right? That's a Tony Robbins thing.
Right.
Pat, what are your thoughts on this equation?
Well, everything that you bring up, like I think about like who needs to hear this, and obviously, and Kurt, I was on a call, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, and I still am baffled about how marketing and sales are still not in complete alignment. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have your sales reps understand where, this whole process, but you better have at least your senior level salespeople in a room to hear this, to understand where marketing is not only deriving these from, but it's a term that keeps coming up over and over again, messaging, having your messaging in alignment. Like your senior salespeople better know this, and then they could always provide feedback as well. But if it's just coming across as something that they're handed, when they ask about like leads, and just not understanding really the whole process, or not wanting to, like that's another red flag. If a sales, a senior, again, senior salesperson is like, well, that's not my job. That's marketing. I just want the leads. Like that's a problem. And the word I used when I was on the call with the client was and I said it a little cautiously because it was my first time on the call with them. So I didn't want to, I didn't really know where the alliances were, but the word that I used was tone deaf. I said, it sounds to me like your sales partner is a bit tone deaf as to what you're trying to do. And she just nodded, kind of looked
Sometimes you gotta
over,
give them the hard ice cream.
yeah, kind of looked over her shoulder and went like that. So, I think the points that you just brought up were fantastic. And again, it's not only what you're saying, it's who needs to hear this. These certain people better be in the room when these decisions are made.
So to follow on that, right? Like for us, sales and marketing align. Marketing is part of sales. It's all part of a go to market team. There is no separation. Our marketing is part of our sales meetings. It's the marketing strategies and campaigns are communicated to the sales teams all the time so that everybody is on the same level. It's not a terrible idea to have a what's called an SLA, a sales level agreement, where everybody understands what their role is, what they're giving, what they're getting. If I hand you a lead sales, this is what you're expected to do. Marketing, we expect you to generate this many leads and to keep us in the loop on how you're doing it so that we can understand the full process of how we're basically getting to the point where we're actually talking to prospects and customers, right? So that whole marketing and sales alignment, sales and marketing alignment is all part of the go-to-market strategy. And it's vital that you have that alignment all along the way for anything to work. Never mind shifting your strategy from rented to owned. It's like it's a foundation. Besides your tech stack, that sales and marketing alignment is a foundation of everything you should be doing.
I don't want to beleaguer the point. I'll just say that I am still shocked. When I first got into this business over 25 years ago, that I'm still hearing this. And that to this day, we're still hearing that there's a separation between sales and marketing, or not necessarily a separation, just
Yeah, I
still
agree.
a disconnect. It boggles my mind. I think,
It's a little crazy.
yeah,
So I think let's move on to the next slide.
I could go all day about this. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
right. So the action plan, right? So clear 30, 60, 90-day roadmap. First, you want to audit your funnel gaps. Where are you relying on rented channels? What you want to be looking for in your rented channels, your paid channels is what is your cost per lead? What is your cost per conversion? What is the deal velocity, right? If it takes a year to close, that's not a good lead. You could have gotten that lead anywhere and nurtured them. But so looking at your funnel gaps, finding out what's working, what's not working, some things you want to look for again. Look at your cost per lead, look at the conversion per lead, look at the overall cost of each channel. The next thing is to then take, depending on the channel, if it's underperforming, reallocate 25 to 30% of that spend. It's probably on PPC, right? So whether that's in LinkedIn or in um, Google or in Facebook, one of those channels, right? You want to reallocate into SEO and email and CRM ops. Just take that money and like invest it back into your owned infrastructure, build out the sequences, build out the workflows, make sure that the messaging is aligning for the deal stages, invest in some smart email communications to continue to engage, focus on content, like developing good, useful content for your buyers at their various buyer stages, right? I would add to this, not in here right now, but I would throw some money at social moderation. I think that that's also a good strategy currently. So if you can put a couple bucks towards social media moderation and engagement, I think that's a good strategy too. And it's also part of that SEO content strategy. You want to create nurture tracks per funnel stage. That's basically what I was just talking about is if they're at the needs analysis stage, what is your messaging to them? You want to create a whole nurture series for that stage. If they're at the proposal stage, what are they considering? Think about what content can be generated to help them make better decisions, right? I'm not sure. We have some consumer, some B2B on this, services, things like that on this event today. So I'm talking about like it's going to be a little bit different for each type of business, but essentially just think about where your prospect is in your funnel stage and write some emails. It's so simple. And then align your go-to-market systems with buyer intent. All that means, that's a really fancy way of saying use lead scoring to trigger your emails and workflows. That's it, right? So this is a really easy 30, 60, 90-day strategy roadmap. You can do this on your own, absolutely. But obviously there's a lot of people who can help you with it. Uh, what are your thoughts about this approach, Patty?
Well, the first thing that you just said, that's probably going to shock some people when shift 20 to 30% uh, away from paid media. Um,
Underperforming.
well, the reason why I say that is because for years the idea was to just throw money in that direction, and then we're going to really see some results now. Um, but yeah, like the idea of taking that money and reinvesting it back into your existing
Yes.
infrastructure. It's kind of like this country. We built these things, these beautiful things 50 years ago, 60 years ago, after World War II. It's time to start reinvesting back into this infrastructure. Some of these aren't performing, as well as they used to. Now, on the business side, when all of these systems were, when you first got your SEO, your CRM systems, I'm sure they were the new shiny toy, and everybody was really excited about having them. And then, along the course of the way, you know, whether it be because of turnover or different philosophies, like people started getting pulled, or ideas, strategies started getting pulled in different directions. Um, again, it goes back to, why do I have a 22% increase on my cost per acquisition? Again, now we didn't just tell people what it was. This is the meat and potatoes. This is what we're saying. This is what we're suggesting based on the things that we've seen, based on the things that we've done. Here's the plan of action. Here's how we are saying, reallocate these funds, and why, and why. And you brought it up again in content. There's all different kinds of content. It could be content on your website. It could be, the newsletters, or the way you reach out to your client base. Are you touching base with your existing clients, or are you just asking them, hey, how are things going? Or are you providing them with useful information, whether it be about the industry that they're in, about different market trends? You got to come to them with more than just selling and upselling. Like you said earlier in the presentation, you want to be a partner with them, not just somebody who's looking for that 3% increase every year, when it's time to renew your license. So I think that, you're kind of putting your money where your mouth is when you're showing everybody, okay, this is what we're saying.
Yeah, I think you make a couple good points there. I think one of the biggest challenges a lot of our partners and potential customers, and even not our customers and potential customers, have is having their CRM correctly configured to start with. These are very complicated systems these days. Even the simple ones are very complicated. And I would say 90% of them are not configured correctly. So number one, your return on technology investment is down. Number two, they're then not, the second part of not getting return on investment is activation. Your team actually using the system. Um, so spend a little bit of money, right, on getting that system configured right and set up so that you have an engine to drive your growth instead of just throwing money at these for like a little bit of attention of your prospect each day. It's a better investment longer term. On the content side, you make a good point, like your stage messaging doesn't have to always be about selling them something,
Right.
right? So if you're seeing in like you have a long stage, right? A long sales cycle, right? It doesn't have to always be about selling them. Now, when what you do want to focus your messaging on is the customers or prospects challenges. Talk about their challenges. Stop talking about your product and service,
Right.
right? So think in those terms when you're creating that nurture track funnel, stage funnel. So that's another good point, right? So I I think those are good points. And again, this is pretty straightforward. Anybody can do this, right? We're going to supply this to you, the deck so that you have it. You can take these notes, we can send them over to you, and then you can apply it directly to your setup. All right. Let's move on to the next slide. All right, so we have another poll. Uh, What's the biggest blocker stopping you from scaling owned channels right now? Lack of strategy, lack of tools, team bandwidth, unclear ROI, or other? Please specify. Specify in chat. I'm sorry. Thank you, Rochelle. So we're going to give you a couple of minutes. Pat, any thoughts on this poll question?
I'm just curious as to what percentage of the budget is going to rented channels with diminished returns. You know, uh, when you were crafting, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, what I want to say to the attendees is we're using this poll question to basically your input as basically to help us direct how we shape future sessions. So whatever you're providing is fine. It's whatever your blocker is today. We're gonna look at how we can come up with new frameworks to help you start unblocking these things going forward. So that's the purpose of this. I just wanted to make it clear for everybody.
Yeah, we'll validate the blockers.
Yeah, I mean, what we want to do is we want to understand your blockers, and then we want to then move forward with solutions to your blockers. That's okay. Like so. All right, great. We have our responses. If you haven't submitted your response, we'll leave that open for a couple more minutes. You can drop it in, right? So let's move on to the next slide. We have an exclusive offer for a free funnel infrastructure audit. This isn't this isn't for everybody. This is just for people who are attending the webinar today. This is basically a personalized audit to uncover where your go-to-market system is leaking or underutilized. Okay, so there's two options. We can do a CRM and email audit, or option two is SEO and content audit, right? This includes a 30-minute consult call, meeting call. Who does calls anymore? A 30-minute meeting, an ROI gap analysis, and then an optimization roadmap. We'll give you tangible suggestions for how to optimize your funnel and how to improve your outcomes. So that's just for people who attended today.
Yeah.
Okay, we can move on to the next slide. So so actually this is our next event, how PMG 360 empowers go-to-market teams. PMG 360, your go-to-market co-pilot. And what we do want to do is we want we want to open it up to see if there's any questions. We have some time for some questions. Rochelle, if you want to, if there's any questions, just let us know. Pat, any thoughts, any additional thoughts while we wait?
I'm just, well, what are we thinking as far as for those that are attending right now? I mean, what are we thinking for as far as a timeline for the next web seminar?
Monthly. We're going to do another one in a month.
Yeah, I'm thinking, it's August, we want to do it. We'll get this in before the dog days of August are over, because
We'll give you something to distract from like sitting around in your office if you're not busy. We'll give you a, quick half hour how-to session on how to improve your job. It's pretty straightforward. And it's something to do in the summer, right?
I mean, I always use the analogy of the ant and the grasshopper. Summer's great and there's time for fun and all that, but you got to be putting the work in too, because September is right around the corner. Q4 is right around the corner, and nobody wants to hear that we're not ready for the end of the year run. You know, they're not
It's
interested.
Q, yeah, it's Q4 right now. If you're not if you're not putting things into place for your Q4 now, you're missing your opportunity, right? So I think we can wrap it up. I do want to say a couple things. PMG 360, we partner with all types of businesses to turn your CRM and SEO into pipeline drivers without adding headcount. That's a key. Everybody is stretched so thin these days. Just think of us as a resource extender or a force multiplier, right? We work with HubSpot, Zoho, High Level, Pipedrive, and any other CRM solution. We also work in a lot of different marketing automation platforms. So we know how to operationalize CRM and to increase, life cycle flows very quickly. We also have access to I shouldn't say access. We own 230 million plus first party contacts in our database, which we maintain and update with a number of different data points like technographics, intent data, first party intent data, third party intent data. And we can utilize that stuff to help you with any kind of additional data needs or activation channels. So with that, I think is there a finish slide or is that the last slide? We did the Q&A already. The next event we're going to be doing from database to demand gen, transforming your CRM into a revenue machine. We're going to be taking your polling answers from today's event and then incorporating them into that next event from database to demand engine. And that way we can give you, again, some additional frameworks to help you be successful at the end of the day. Pat? Do you want to say
Myself. Yeah, click reserve your spot now. Let's go. We told
reserve
you.
your spot now? Click below.
Yeah, we'll do it next month.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.